Fred's podcast here with a special high school scholastic live period edition with some college coaches. Just want to kind of share some knowledge, some tips for prospective student athletes and their parents to kind of know going into these live periods. Really appreciate the time of all the college coaches that I have on the call today. We're going to start with Coach Bradley Jacks. Bradley, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Appreciate you, Aaron. Name's Bradley Jacks, assistant coach at Quinnipiac University.
Okay, what are some non-negotiables that your head coach kind of demands in every recruit that you guys are going to look at?
Yeah, so I say the first thing we kind of have to evaluate right off the get is body language. You know, Nothing's perfect in the game. People are gonna make mistakes, and I think body language and how good of a teammate are they? Though those two kind of go hand in hand with each other. And we like to look for tough kids. I think those are the top three. As we go navigate through the recruiting world and the live period, those are the big three that we look for off the bat.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Lewis Hinnant, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Lewis Hinnant, assistant coach at George Mason University.
Cool. And how long have you been there? And what are some non-negotiables that Coach Skin is looking for?
I've been there just finished year one, and under Coach Tony Skin, and from a character standpoint, he'll tell you, from the jump, no guns, no drugs, no issues with women. That's first and foremost. And then toughness, just like Coach Jack said, toughness, motor. Coach Ken's a pretty high energy guy, so he doesn't want to kind of want guys to kind of fit his personality. And then he always talks about twitch, kind of being kind of quick twitch kind of guys, no matter what position that is. And then guys that are able to play with some type of IQ, because he does give guys some freedom. So with that being said, he needs the guys, to kind of be able to play with some IQ with that freedom.
Okay. Coach Williams, you're up.
How you doing? Pershing Williams, Georgia Tech Institute. Definitely don't want to mess that up. Everybody say university. I think the biggest thing, being with Coach Stoddard my first year, we look for guys who gonna bring energy, bring some type of toughness. I think they go hand in hand. We just need guys to kind of come out and just play hard. I hate to sound cliche. I think everybody kind of mentioned the same thing, but I think he values that first and foremost. Secondly, I think at the end of the day, finding guys who know how to play. Everybody thinks it's about shooting, scoring, but just really know how to play, get their hands on the ball, very active, know how to play, know how to get others involved. And then I think lastly, can't have enough of it shooting. Shooting. And it's from a skills perspective, coming from where he came from, with the Celtics. It's you can't have enough shooting. Just being able to spread the floor, big, smalls, anybody just having shooting. So
Okay, cool. So next couple of questions, I'm just going to kind of open it up to whoever, something comes to you, just go ahead and speak on it. So if a kid isn't on your list, so for a lot of people that don't know how this works, college coaches do not walk in blind to recruiting events. Kids might pop onto the radar that, they didn't go in expecting to, like, or, stuff like that, but they're going specifically, I want to watch bam, 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 bam. And they line up the players and the teams that they want to see. Usually it's guys that they've already seen during the summer or during the previous school year. A lot of the times, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the times, guys, it's really just like, all right, I've seen him during the high school season. I've seen him during the AAU season. He's on my head coach's radar. Now this is kind of where we're going to pull the trigger a lot of the time during the summer as far as offers go. If a kid is not on your list, what's something that's going to catch your eye? And what are some things that are cross-offs to you?
I think for me, it goes back to those things that, we were kind of just discussing. Obviously you're out there, you're probably at a game, viewing somebody else that, like you said, is probably on your list. But, if someone on the other team or even another teammate is getting things done, they're helping guys win, they're impacting winning. And again, they're hitting some of these things, the toughness, the motor, the twitch, the IQ, those things that you were kind of looking for anyway, or who might have caught your eye, and one of those guys that you were there intending to see. If he fits the mold, then he fits the mold, no matter, who you were there to see. where at all times we're looking to evaluate, find new names, and evaluate new guys. So, if somebody new catches your eye, then it's probably one of those things that you were kind of looking for in somebody else and sticking to your core values in the first place.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that. Anyone else got something for this?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yep.
Brad.
No, I mean, I just want to build off what Coach Lou says, impact winning. There's, the little things that go into winning a game, whether it's deflections, diving on the ground, rebounding, a lot of stuff that doesn't come up in the, the stat sheet that guys do. That usually catches my eye. And I think, kind of being at our level, like athletes, like guys that are really good athletes, that's able to translate very well, I think, just in terms of skill set and ability to do a lot of different things. But, you know, the biggest piece, I think, like you said, we go in with a list, but guys that can impact winning are talented. Those are two big ones for me.
Okay, Coach Williams.
Yeah, I would I always say, like, man, we come in with a list, and I know we come in with like agendas. When you're kind of looking at guys, and you got your A, B, C guy, or even D guy down the list. I always find that it's seeing that, like, that D guy, and you just watching play, and it's like, man, that dude just kind of impacts winning. Like everybody talked about, it's like, man, and it's some in your gut, because again, like, these kids get so caught up in like all these rankings at a certain age, and then you go look it up on the list, and you're like, man, who is this kid? Like, he's just a pack winning. It doesn't matter who he plays with. He can play with great players. He can play with average players, but like, he always leaves his impact on the game. And I think that's what's going on so much, even with college basketball, with the whole portal or anything else. Is like, man, you find guys who impact winning, and you find out they can play on any level, up and down the board. And you find some guys who don't impact winning, and they have no effects on the game, whether they're playing in a high major game, mid major game, or a low major game.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit. We don't love to be negative, but let's talk about some of those cross-offs, because this is something that needs to come from the mouths of the college coaches that are extending those offers. Or, I think a lot of the times parents don't understand that you can mess it up for your son if you're acting crazy. So go ahead and speak on some of the cross-offs for you and for your head coach in these events.
I'll go ahead. I always say, man, like, people come in like, I mean, it's hard because parents come in with their own notion, and we always say, man, every parent love their baby. Like, it don't matter who you are. I got two myself, and I try to put my head down during the game. But so everybody really wants the best for them, and then like their expectations a lot of times just kind of try to outweigh everything. So a lot of times you're just trying to figure out like what their expectations are. Like, it doesn't matter what school they're going to, man. You bring in a freshman kid right now at Mason. I was at Kennesaw State before I was at Georgia Tech, and it's always a learning curve for most of those kids. But like, the expectations coming in, whether they're a 3-star kid or a 1-star kid, is like, oh, I'm gonna come in here, I'm a kid, I'm gonna like, hey man, like, college basketball is just a different beast, and like, you finding parents who understand those expectations and kind of can deal with it, and just let those kids grow. I think the ones they get in the crowd yelling, shoot it, shoot it. It's like, man, do I want to deal with that 2 days out the year, or do I want to deal with it 365?
It kind of just piggybacking off of what he said, like, I think, in having those conversations and doing your due diligence, getting to know the family, getting to know the parents, like, I would say one of the turnoffs or cross-offs for me may be like, if the things you're saying about the kid's current coach, you know what I mean? Because I mean, we ain't dumb enough to think that you won't say those same things about me when you don't get your way, or if things don't start going your way. So I think, and even, sometimes like you can catch little subliminals on social media, like, whether I'm right or not, it may look like to me he's taking shots at the coach, whoever's coaching the kid. And again, like I said, we don't want to have to, deal with that, knowing it's going to be even worse. Let's say your kid, you may be in high school, your kid's coming home to you every night. You guys are having conversations. How is it going to be when he's gone away from campus and you only see him once every few months, and you don't actually know what's going on every day in practice, and again, your kid may not be getting the playing time you want or the shots you want, you're gonna definitely take those shots or those subliminals on social media and things like that at the coach's staff, which again is just gonna drive a rift between your kid who is not at home with you. He's on campus with his team, his coaching staff, and things like that. So those things are you know, I just feel like at home is undefeated. Like as much as we try to pour into these kids as coaches, you can't trump the message that they're getting at home. So you know, if you feel like the messenger isn't gonna, you know, be willing to have your back and kind of regurgitate some of the things that you're saying or the, you know, the things that you're trying to get off to their kid, it's probably not gonna work, you know. So, you know, let's just cut ties early.
There you go. Okay, appreciate that. Let's talk about there's been a lot of big shifts in the college recruiting landscape, which I'm sure that you guys are happy about some of them, not so happy about some of the other ones. How has your approach to recruiting high school prospects changed with the transfer portal, with the extra year, and with NIL?
I'll speak on it to start. I think, you know, kind of for us, we took a little bit of a different approach than most. We ended up taking 5 high school guys this past class, but you know, it's different. It varies from school to school in terms of needs, and you know, some guys are in positions where they have to win now, and so you know, some teams are looking for older guys. But it's one of those things that shift year to year in terms of, you know, what teams need. But I think what we're starting to see is now a lot of good kids are available late due to the portal, which, you know, for guys, you know, at my level, it's awesome because, you know, in years in the past, you may not get kids that may be a little bit above that level, like you're going to miss out in some recruiting battles. But now I think it's awesome for guys like us to, you know, keep recruiting guys down the line and, you know, not be so, I wouldn't say afraid, but just like when, you know, a bigger name school comes into play and you're like, oh man, like he may end up there. Like, no, we can keep going on, developing that relationship and hitting the points within that.
Got you. Anyone else got something for this?
I agree with what he said, with everything he said. I mean, just to add a little bit to it, I think, you know, we've still taken, you know, 1 or 2 high school guys every year. Obviously, in the past, you would take way more than that. And also, like Coach Jack said, you know, some guys, you know, including ourselves, you want to get old and stay old, so to speak. But I would say, you know, even from a high school standpoint, like we're willing to swing on a high school kid, but we want to swing for the fences if we do. Like we want the kid that Georgia Tech's supposed to get. Right. You know what I mean? And you know, we're going to try for that. But if not, we'll wait. Like there's some other options now. Like you can wait to the portal and kind of see what's there. If that swing isn't available to you early, maybe it's available late. Like Coach Jack said, like there's people available late. But you know, if we're going to swing for the high school kid, you know, we want somebody that, you know, fell through the cracks from the ACC and it kind of landed in our lap or something like that, you know, if we're going to do that.
Okay.
And just speaking on that, I mean, I definitely agree with what everybody's saying. I think, you know, I think the best way to kind of build that team is with everything being 1 year, right? So it's like you're really building a team year after year. The best teams are finding ways to, whatever it might be. Like I know it's a hard struggle, but like if we can keep some type of turnover, so you're not coaching 13 every year, right? I think the better teams have made runs in the tournament where you just kind of getting those guys to believe. You get about 8 and then you fill in gaps in the portal. I think that's the kind of the approach that we kind of looking at. I mean, it's so hard to get 13 guys or 12 guys or 10 guys out the portal. Now, I'm not saying like that doesn't happen, because I know at this point in the recruiting stages, it's like, man, like guys can just get unhappy and kind of move on and kind of do different things. But I think as much as you can try to just keep down turnover, get guys who are willing to kind of buy in and sacrifice to you as a staff and a program. And you know, I know the most hurtful thing about all of it is it used to be such a relationship business, right? Like, I came to play for this coach. This coach believed in me. And I think that was, you know, we end up, you know, like I said, I was at Kennesaw State before this, even to Georgia Tech, and we was able to kind of keep those guys around. So those guys made a run, and then it's like once they kind of reach the mountaintop, then it's like they kind of all departed at the same time. So like, I mean, it's the hardest thing is just to try to keep that unity, that brotherhood, and kind of still build on it. But I just know it's so many exterior factors going on right now that it's just hard to deal with.
Okay. I want to talk about, we're heading into a big weekend where a kid can have one really good game that really catapults his recruitment, or like his attention, or stock is such a moving target that I don't like to use that word. But talk about what you guys have learned about not putting too much stock into a single game performance, positively or negatively.
I think just going into, these games, I think a lot of times, man, like you hit it on before, like you've seen a lot of these kids, and so it's just a different avenue that you're gonna see them in. You're gonna see them in with their high school team. You're gonna see them with their AAU team. Certain guys gonna play better in certain situations just based on how it's kind of going. I've seen guys who really have not been that successful in the AAU scene, and when they get with a high school, man, more of a system and different things like that, they just kind of excel, and so you're just trying to see them in different formats.
I think the biggest thing is, like Coach Williams is saying, like, we've seen them with their AAU team, we're seeing them in their high school team in different roles. But I think for us, it just doesn't stop there. Like we're doing work behind the scenes. We're looking at your synergy. We're going the extra mile to really understand what type of guys, we're looking at, we're recruiting. And so I think, it's tough. You got to understand, like, everyone's going to have guys going to have really good games and some guys going to have poor games. But what is that like cash register guy look like? What are they doing every day? What's something that's every game, like no matter if the shot's going in or not? Are they rebounding? Are they picking guys up? Is his eyes locked into the coach? Like little things like that. We're evaluating that type of stuff as well too. So I think all that stuff plays into, a person's character of who they are when things don't go their way or they feel like they're not scoring. So, one game, like you play bad, okay, but like you can bounce back from it. So I think for a lot of these guys, it's not just the one game for us. Like we've been doing our homework for a while.
Hmm. Before we get to you, Coach Bird, I kind of have a follow-up question to that for you guys. When you guys are getting intel on a player, say you see Aaron Proya play, at the math, and you're like, damn, that kid can really shoot it, which is a true fact, by the way. And you're like, I want to learn more about him. What goes into that intel, that background work? Who are you talking to? What type of questions are you asking? Because I think a lot of parents don't understand that, before, Coach Bird reaches out to Aaron Proya, he's going to talk to his high school coach, his AAU coach, a guy that he knows that trained him, you know what I mean? Like his family, if he knows, his brother or something like that. Talk about that background work that goes into some of these offers and some of that recruiting.
Yeah, like just kind of like you just said, like any common ground that we can find, we'll probably start there. Obviously social media and things like that, whether, people want to believe it or not, is a huge like way to start. And kind of get me in the direction that I need to, head. Obviously, the AAU coaches, the high school coaches, things like that, probably, we can start there as well. But let's just say this was a kid off the radar. Nobody kind of knew anything about him. We'll start with your social media. If probably somebody in common. And again, we're going to turn over as many stones as possible to kind of figure out what kind of kid you are. I think, with all of us, probably can agree to this. There's an easy way to kind of lose a job, and it kind of starts with the character of the group that you bring in there and the things that they're going to be doing when the coaching staff is not around. So, while talent is huge, obviously we all want talented players, but we definitely have to do our due diligence and knowing the type of guys that's going to be around the program, and representing the program, when we're not around. So like I said, I usually start with like your social media and things like that. So keep that clean. Even your followers and what they do, keep that clean. And then obviously your relationship with your AAU high school coaches and anybody in between that we can find.
Appreciate that. Anyone else got something on that?
I just chime in. I mean, he's 100% right. Any type of information is gold. I mean, it doesn't matter where it's coming from at that point. It could be a pastor or a spiritual leader. It could be your coach. Like, man, how you treat people is how you're gonna be. And we're in a people business. I mean, they can say what they want. We're in a people business. How you treat everybody is like how it's gonna be. How you treat your mom. I've seen kids that kind of talk back to their parents, and I'm sitting there looking like, well, it couldn't have been mine. My mom would have killed me, but
Yeah.
took a whole fist upside my head. I just like, if they make excuses to their parents, like, what you think they're gonna do to you? Like, it's just, having those conversations and finding out from the coach, and he always has an excuse. I mean, we got that information before we started recruiting. The truth of the matter is like for the people who are around them, like who kind of hurt the kid when they'll sit there and try to cover up for them. Half the times, man, like even coaches, man, everybody on the screen, man, like when you figure out kind of who that kid is, you're going to have a risk reward factor to that kid. It is what it is. And it's like, if you can't deal with the risk, you're not going to take them. So like, there's no need for like people around them, like, oh, he this, he that, and then you get them, and then now you call him down. Hey man, you told me the kid do that. You told me like this ain't nothing you said. So I like transparency is always just the best option when it comes to it. Again, coach is gonna kind of make a decision on, based on his talent level, like what they're willing to deal with, what they're willing to put up with. We're just 3 institutions, but it's 358 of them. It's like 365 of them. I mean, somebody's gonna, if he's good enough, risk reward.
I have a follow-up question that's kind of similar to that I was going to ask later anyways, but we'll just do that now. This is very selfish of me. I just really want you guys' opinion on this. When I'm a level lower on a kid than the consensus, and a college coach at the higher level that he already has offers at reaches out to me about him and asks me about him, is he good enough to play for me? Is he good enough to play at this level? What am I supposed to do as an advocate for kids? Because obviously that's the main goal, is getting them to college while also running a business predicated on reputation and honesty.
I always say, like, and I know the hardest part is like trying to just get a basis of how that coach plays, right? So coach Louis a minute ago talked about quick twitch. So like he might take a chance on a kid who's gonna be really quick twitched, really kind of high energy, like that kind of fits their mold of how they want to play. Stretch fives, they, it's different universities. It's like, hey man, we want a stretch guy, we want skill at this position, we want to really be able to shoot it. He might not can play for Arkansas, who want to jump out the gym and play athletic and get down here, but like he can play at like different universities. So I just feel like a lot of times just trying to get a niche of, yeah, he could probably play for you, coach, but like that don't fit. Like the fit just don't work. Coach, the reason I'm calling you is because I think the fit works. I've watched you play. He kind of reminds me of a lot of guys you've kind of had who's been successful. I'm not saying he might not be right there right now, but I think like if you kind of take a look at him, just try to take a look. I think that's the kind of approach you gotta kind of look at it. Because it's so many kids right now, and we're recruiting from all over the place. Portal, JUCO, high school, overseas, EuroLeague. We got 3 kids from Africa, NBA Africa. It's like everybody's recruiting all over the place, and ultimately it's like everything don't fit. Everything don't fit. Just kind of figure out a knack for how they kind of want to play, and then they might fit this university but not fit this one.
Appreciate that. I mean, to me, man, if I'm not honest with you about a player and you recruit that player and you get that player and it does not work out with that player, you think you're coming back to me? Nah.
Right.
And you shouldn't, respectfully, like you really shouldn't, because my job is to speak the truth.
Right.
I kind of just wanted to bring that up because sometimes I get called a hater and it's like, well, you don't, first off, you don't have to agree with my opinion. That's totally fine.
Right.
And on top of that, if you value my opinion, than like the feedback that I'm giving you as far as why I don't think you are at that level yet. You know, development is not linear. You know, it's definitely a moving target. You know, you can kind of be stagnant developmentally for 3 years because of the guys ahead of you, because of, you know, coaching change, because your grades suck and you can't even be on the court. And then all of a sudden, senior year, you hit your stride and, you know, you grow 4 inches and, you know, everything kind of changes. But I think I would rather be honest and be late on a player getting recruited to that level and point out the fact that, hey, when I was talking about this kid, you know, this is where he was and he's worked his ass off and now he's here. And I feel fine about my process because at the time, that's how I truthfully felt about it. Because again, you know, there's a lot of kids that go high major that should be low major and then vice versa. So it's, you know, no one's perfect in this evaluation field. So kind of talking about the evaluating as it relates to your head coach. If the consensus is that a kid is not good enough for your level, but he impresses you, how do you pitch that to your head coach? And what does the player have to do in front of that head coach for him to extend that offer?
No, I think for me, you gotta trust your eye. You know, like my thing is like, you know, what is the consensus? Like, who is the consensus saying this kid isn't good enough? It goes back to what Coach Williams said. Like, the consensus doesn't know your system. They don't know your depth chart. You know, your roster. It could be certain things. Like I know you kind of just hit on like development and being late or being early. Yeah, let's say hypothetically speaking, we're talking about a 5-man who ain't quite there, but down the line, like he's got a lot, like he got a lot to work with. It may just be something like strength, something down the line. But I already got 2 5 men. I don't need him to play those type of minutes anyway.
Right.
Not as a freshman. So, you know, you never know someone's scenario or their situation or what they have, you know, kind of from a developmental standpoint, what they have in mind. So again, like, you know, as far as like what someone else may think, and again, you got to know your situation and kind of the attributes and traits that you're looking for, you know, as a program. And then as far as pitching it to your head coach, I think probably most of us can agree, you know, head coaches are busy. I think you just, for me, what I've found to be helpful is I just go in there and I advocate. Like, this isn't going to be something, if I believe in a kid, this isn't going to be like, oh, I shot you an email, you know what I mean? Or I text you some highlights. Like, no, I walked in there like, yo, coach, you get a chance, like you check out my guy, like he's good. He can help us. Like, you need to get out there to see him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, I think that's how we're all in the business of player acquisition. You know, it's 3-4 of us on every team staff. So, and we're all trying to build the best rosters that we can. And, you know, if you feel like you have somebody that can help us win games, why wouldn't you speak up for the kid?
And I'm sure
Stand on the table.
I'm sure that you have to pick your battles, you know, wisely when it comes to that, because you can't do that for a ton of kids every year. Something that just kind of popped into mind, and this is a tough one to answer for sure. How do you navigate being honest and recruiting a player that isn't number one on your board for his position? So if y'all recruiting me and you recruiting Lewis Hinnant, and I'm number 2 on your board, and he's clearly number 1, which again is not factual, but we'll ride with it anyways. How do you navigate being honest about that? Be like, listen, Aaron, like, do you get what I'm saying? I'm curious as to how you guys work with that.
I always say that's a slippery slope. Man, I'm telling you, man, like if you got 2 ready to say yes, man, you might need to take them. Like, man, that game is always dangerous. So again, you know, when I was a younger coach, man, I actually told a kid like, "Hey, you're number 2." He committed somewhere the next day. Like, so I was like, I'm not gonna last long.
Didn't tell your head coach about that conversation.
Oh, I did not. But I was just trying to be like, I'm trying to be honest with him, But I do think, man, at the end of the day, like that's part of it. If you have one that's exceptional, like just way out the box, like I know everybody's gonna try to sit there and wait on that, but I think at the end of the day, when you can get two or three and all of them kind of marginal together, like that's where you're just gonna be in the best situation. And it's like the first one to take it, we need to go to the house with it. So
How often
it's
do parents ask you that?
they'll ask from time to time. Like you gonna get a lot of them. I always say, like, when I was at a lower level, when I was at Kennesaw, right, dealing with that was a lot more. Like you can shoot for the fence all you want to, and then sometimes that's all they want is that level. Now you hear, and it's like you can't really say it because, like, I don't know if a dude is 75 or 25, like that has really no indication. It don't really matter. Like it don't really matter. Now, if a dude is an NBA player and everybody know it, you're sitting there looking like, can we get him, or are we wasting our time and just need to take what we can take? You see what I'm saying? So
what have you guys learned about still reaching out to that player who might be out of reach as far as, the school that you're at and the level that you're at right now? Because, there's some situations where it's like, shit, maybe like you find out down the line, you talk to his dad at an AU event. He's like, man, if you had recruited him, like you would have had a shot. Like, what have you guys learned about that process?
You got it, Coach Jax.
Yeah, I can take it. Man, you just keep calling. I think the way I learned, I started off Division 3. I mean, the amount of no's I've been told early on by guys that thought they were going Division 1, and I just keep checking in every month, and that's kind of been my mentality with guys that probably thinking. For me, especially at our level, we got to play the long game with some guys. It's just how it is. We're not usually someone's first choice, but I think we just got to wait and see kind of how a lot of stuff plays out. But I think, at some point, hoping, things come around, and it's hitting all areas. It's not just the student athlete. It's the parents, it's the coaches, it's the other people around them that are helping this young man make the decision. And I think if I can get a kid to get on campus, I think I got a shot. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
And I think, sorry not to cut you off, AP, but I think overall, like when you talk recruitment, at the end of the day, like it's a people business. And one thing I realized, like in basketball, like the basketball heads stay around. Like, like people from when I was playing are like still active and like got kids, and you know what I mean? Like you can still reach out to them and like, oh, yeah, I got this kid, things like that. So whether or not you end up getting that kid in that initial time, or you may never get that kid, but the people that you had to deal with in order to, kind of get to know that kid and his family are probably still around the game, somehow, some way, whether that's affiliated with some AAU program, some high school program, they train, something like that. Like I said, generally basketball people stay around the game. And you like 2 years down the line, it may be another kid that I'm training him now. I got this kid. So, and just from my relationship from the first time around, like I'm probably further down the line than maybe I was with the first kid. The second kid, and it may come back around to you.
100%.
And
Yeah.
just to chime, like I totally agree, because at this point, man, like guys are transferring up and down the radar. They coming from everywhere. I just watched Derek White win the championship. He was D2 for 3 years. And it's like, man, like if you have a conversation, maybe it just goes on to Colorado. Like they're literally coming from everywhere out the woodworks. They're going up and down the radar. So like by him having conversations with 4 or 5 kids that, yeah, coach, man, Mason, man, I'm gonna go here. And then in 2 years, it's like, coach, man, how's Mason? Like, it just works that way. It's like, it just works that way. Man, I should have listened to you before. It's like having those relationships. having those relationships, even for the guys who went to Mason, like, I really like that kid, man. We just can't take him. You might as well just kind of be honest with him, because in 2 years, it's like, Coach, remember me? I'm like, like, yeah, I do. I really liked your game then. So guys are just kind of transferring up and down the board. Like, you just got to kind of be prepared, and just knowing so many more guys at this point.
Be ready for the bounce back. Don't stop
Yeah.
recruiting a kid just because he's
Yeah.
going to be hired, because you might get him next year. And especially in this era, that's for sure. How do you guys figure out who is the decision maker, or most important person in a prospect's recruitment, and at what stage in the recruitment do you try to have that figured out? If you don't have Aaron Proy, OW Hoops, letting you know who that is.
ASAP. No,
Nah, speak on it.
Yeah, ASAP. Like, I mean, and I mean, for me, it's not no secret. I flat out ask, like, who do you speak to the most about recruitment? Like, who do you, like, who's your circle? Who's your support system?
Hmm.
And sometimes, I prefer that a lot of times, because later on down the line is when 2 or 3 other names start popping up. But a lot of times in that initial, hey, who's helping you with your recruitment? Who's your circle? Is going to be mom, dad, yada, 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 the people. And then a lot of times, like I said, down the line, all these 2 or 3 other names pop up, and it's like, okay, now I see what this is.
Yeah, choosing that circle is important. Talking about your peers right now, talk about the copycat nature of offering, and why some coaches, let's be honest, are scared to offer because they don't want to get a kid's name out there for a coach at a higher level to then offer him and push them out of the recruitment. Can you kind of speak on that? I think Coach Jacks would be a good person to talk to about this one.
I feel like the guys we offer, no one else offers right after us, but it's a little different. But I think some guys just go at their own pace. They need that reassurance that a guy is borderline. But what Coach Lou said earlier, I think it's about trusting your eyes, and if you truly believe that that kid's the one, you got to go at bat. But do we see it? Yeah. I don't. Me personally, I don't have much to say about it. I try to stick with my list, and just because everybody likes one guy doesn't mean a certain coach necessarily likes that guy or that it fits the mold. We're recruiting for our bosses. This is what keeps our job. Allows us to go home, pay our bills. Is making sure we get it right. It's not a popularity contest. It's about getting it right for us.
Gotcha. And anything else to add? Other coaches?
I think a lot of times, I wish you would say what you just said, like on Twitter when the parents are taking shots at coaches. Because a lot of times it's not like, oh, he doesn't know, trust his eye. Now that other people are offered him, they're going to offer. A lot of times, like I'm before I got to George Mason, I was at UMass Lowell. Like, I know what it's like to, like, dude, if somebody else jumps in, we're not getting the kid. So my thought process whenever anyone would ask me that would be, if I'm having these conversations with you daily, me and AP, we talk on the regular. I'm telling you, man, I would love to get you up here on campus. I think you'd be great, yada, yada, yada. Do we got to go to Twitter, or do you have a kind of understanding that, man, coach really likes me. He would take me. I think he would take me. My head coach is telling you those same things, like, man, we love to get you and your family up on campus as soon as possible. Like, we think you'll be a great fit here. Yeah. I think a lot of people just want that. I guess everyone wants the official offer, and I get that. But, for certain programs, I got to play chess a little bit. It's like, why would I want you to blow up? You know what I mean? I'm trying to do right by my program and trying to get the best kid possible. Let's say at UMass Lowell, you're dealing with kids who maybe only got one offer or no offers. So now he's on somebody's radar now because you just blew it up. Somebody's gonna go check him out. It's just the way that things work. If I'm going to, at those times, I'm like Spooky Nook, like things like that. Like, but you know, we all checking the waiver wires or Twitter, okay, before we show up. Oh, Quinnipiac just offered yada 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 for Mid Atlantic Select. We're going to go see what he looks like.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So things like that is like you want to keep that on the low, and you and that kid can already know, like, man, he's been hitting me up every day. Like he's been, man, that coach has been locked in. Like we know what it is. So I don't need to like make it official because I a lot of times I really want the kid, so I got to keep it low.
Hmm. No, that's why I asked the question. Um, what's the point of offering a kid before the contact period opens? And how often are those committable? Because we've seen guys commit early, you know, as freshmen and sophomores, and they rarely end up at that school. Can you guys speak on that?
I think every place I've been, and I think every coach is gonna kind of do it different. Like you'll get, I've worked for different guys, so it's like just about working for different guys. You figure out how they want to operate. Some coaches want to get out there and be early with it. Some want to kind of take their time with it and not kind of blow it up. Some want, like again, I just look at the last couple situations where I've been at. We want to kind of offer and be early to the party. If they blow, they blow, and they just keep going on to the next one. When I was at Kennesaw, even when I was D2 at Columbus State. So like they just if they get those scholarship offers, it's like, all right, coach, we out. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna be able to beat none of these schools that's coming in now. On the flip side, uh, I think we still do that, but like we gotta be sure. So like if we seeing a kid, man, and he's a 26 or a 27 at this point, like we feel like, man, his trajectory, and like we're gonna be pretty sure that that happens. Um, but you just see so much of it. I mean, can they commit? A lot of kids can, that I know that we are kind of like offering, but at the same token, I think those kids are not trying to that early. I've had a kid say, I want 20 offers, and I was like, hey, well, you're not getting one from us. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, like that don't make sense, man.
Stacking them.
They're not Pokemon cards.
I mean, you can only go to one school. Toward the end, like you can only pick one. It's like, man, you can't go to all of them. Even though through 4 years they'll try to.
Anyone else got something on this? All right. In these evaluation settings where it's, a one-off, you might see a kid once, or maybe just you only have the course of the weekend. What's the hardest player prototype to evaluate? Pass first point guard, athletic big, shooter, wing creator. What's the hardest one that you guys think there is to evaluate?
Bigs.
Talk on it. Why?
It's weird because before I got up here, I was like, man, bigs, man, you don't really got to play with a lot of them. Then you get up here and play, and you play one every night, man. And if you just don't have enough bigs, it's like, all right. At the end of the day, he's skilled. Is he tough enough to go play and battle this 250-pound dude when he's just gonna knock you around all game? Are you tough enough for it? We're gonna teach you some other stuff, but like, are you gonna if you want to skill big, is he gonna be tough enough to handle that pound? Like, and then if you got a big who's not skilled, right, is he going to be like, is he gonna affect the game enough without scoring? Can he defend? Can he rebound? Like, or is it he just gonna be a tall guy? Like, bigs are always like, I think bigs are the hardest one. It's like I think bigs, and then not to mention you play any AU game or any high school game, and no guard want to throw it to the big. Like, so it's like, like what you want to do. Like, and if they can throw it to him, and if he's catching it, behind his head and all that, like, yeah, the country wants him. He's top 10. But like, you know, the other ones is like, man, is it something in there? Is it like, does he love basketball? Like, does he want to play this game? Like, yeah, I always say bigs.
The old school coach in me really appreciated hearing that part about the entry pass to the bigs, because it's like, man, you can do 17 tweens, but you can't extend to one side and do a one-handed bounce pass to a guy that's 7 feet from you, that's 7 foot tall. This shouldn't be this complicated. Anyone else have something on this? The hardest prototype?
No, I agree, and I'll just give a 1B. High volume guys. Like doesn't matter the position, like just a super high volume guy on the AAU team. You like, would this translate over, you know, like to the next level? Do I have to let him shoot this much for him to be effective, or for you to really even notice this dude out there? And if not, is he still, you know what I mean? Like, is he an effective player? Does he impact winning? You know what I mean? If he's not putting the ball in the hole. So that's one that I always kind of like, depending on your, you know, your taste and stuff like that. Like, you never know. Some guys it works out for, they end up being draft picks. You know, some guys it doesn't work out for, and they end up looking like they don't know how to play basketball.
Right.
Let's speak on that real quick. What skills do and do not translate most often between the high school and college levels?
What skills do not? I'm 100%
do
with
or
him.
do not. You can pick one or the other.
Do not. I'm 100% with him. Guys, a lot of times who turn out to be volume. It's like, man, they get to a level, it's like, and you might not be the best player. Like, but can you play? Do you know how to play? Like, do you do other things? I had 21 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, no steals. My man had 21. Man, you know.
So, I mean, everyone can score in high school. Like if you're at especially at the high level Division I program, everyone was a scorer in high school. Like a good example of that is Dexter Strickland at UNC. You know, he averaged, I don't know, high 20s in high school, and then he came to UNC and he averaged like, I don't know what it was, like 3 or 4 points a game. He's like, shit, I got to impact the game somehow, or I'm not going to play at UNC. And then he became a pretty good defender, and earned minutes on a really stacked UNC team. Anyone else have something on this?
I'd just say having a motor. Like if you have a motor, it just shows you have a level of competitiveness to you. Like you're not afraid. You know, that's always gonna help us find a way as coaches to get you on the floor in whatever way that is, like a motor to go rebound, a motor to defend. You know, and being smart is such a big piece. It's like for guys that, you know, not everyone is as skilled, not everyone is as athletic, but if you're smart and you understand the game, you're going to set yourself up in scenarios to be lucky in certain situations, whether it's being in the right spot defensively, running different lanes on the floor. So it's, you know, those are two I think that translate very well.
All right, man. 2 more questions, and then
I got one more to that. I'm gonna add to that.
Sure.
It's one that the more and more I watch basketball, man, I just feel like, man, good player, man, passing. And I know that sounds so underrated because like you watch so many games, but like it always jumps out when it's like, man, a dude who can get 7, 8, 9 assists is like that dude can pass. And I don't know what level he is, but that dude know how to pass the ball. Like he knows exactly where to hit guys. He's hitting the shake. He's in the comebacks. Like that dude just know how to pass the basketball. Even if you got a big who know how to pass, it's like he throw passes and it's almost like, hey man, this dude Magic Johnson is like, no, but like so many guys don't know how to pass, just can't pass. So like, I don't know, that might be the point guard in me, but I'm like, man, yo, man, you didn't see that. Like I don't understand why you didn't even see it.
I'm not gonna name names, but there's a high level guy, you know, that's kind of blown up recently, you know, that's from the DMV, and he's, you know, he's playing well on the circuit. He's the primary guy for his AU team. But I was talking to him in the airport, and I was just like, hey man, you say you're a point guard, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, who's the best scorers on your team? And it took him 3 or 4 minutes to come up with 2 names. And then I was like, all right, cool. Do they want bounce passes? He's like, what you mean? I was like, do they want a bounce pass? Do they want a chest pass? Where are they comfortable at on the floor? You know, what type of actions make them look the best? You know, like what are they like emotionally? If they don't get the ball, are they going to be upset? You know, and then it looked like on his face that like this was the first time anyone had asked him these questions. I'm like, you're talking about how you want to be a point guard at the college level, and you're averaging 1.6 assists in the EYBL circuit. like we let's have a conversation about this. Let's have a dialogue because something's not lining up here. And that was a really good conversation to have that I wish I could have with more kids for sure. John Morant got to the NBA. He's obviously kind of one of a million, but you know, the famous story is, you know, the coach kind of was walking past to get some snacks and saw him in the side gym hooping. Do you guys have a John Morant recruiting story? Or maybe one that you kind of learned from that helped you down the line as far as like you took a chance on this type of player and that worked out well, and now you're going to continue doing that year after year?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, when I was at UMass Lowell, like there was a few of those going on. I would say, you know, one of our best players, this kid Obadiah Noel, who was a really good player, but literally kind of just like how you just said, that's how it happened. I had a friend who was an AAU coach, and it was like midday, and we were both saying like, all right, after your game, like we're gonna take a break and go like grab lunch. So I was just waiting for his game to finish, and you know, his game finished. We was taking our walk like to the parking lot, and just kind of out the like I wasn't really paying attention, but it was like out the peripheral, like it was like a blown whistle, but he kept playing, and he did like some crazy dunk like after the whistle, and I was like, hold on. We got to hold up a second and watch this game. So we kind of watched it from afar because again, at a school like, you know, where I was at, like you got to be a little incognito about what you're doing because if people start getting involved, it was gonna be hard. So I kind of watched it from like another court and was just watching it, and I'm like just watching him, and I'm like, yo, this dude is nice, and he's on the back gym, like he's on a blue course at Spooky Nook. If you guys ever been to Spooky Nook, he's on the like back in the blue courts.
Out the mud.
Yeah, so I'm like, yo, like, you know, fast forward like a month later, he was on campus, and probably scored 1,800 points.
Wow.
Two-time first team. Like he's been in the New York G League the last 2 years. I think he's gonna get a crack this year. Yeah, and it was. I tell people all the time, I'm not about to sit here and rewrite history like I was. I was up here. I had this kid, man. I've been on him since I've been new. No, that's not how it happened. I was on my way to get something to eat, and I just was like, it was just timing. Like I literally just walked past at the right time.
It just works out like that sometimes. You guys got one or no?
I didn't get him, so it don't matter.
That's extremely fair. All right, guys, we're gonna kind of close it out because I know some of us got to get out to some stuff here. Really appreciate the time too, guys. It's been great. What's one sentence of advice that you have to high school kids walking into this period?
Don't be cool. Come in and play hard. Just come in and just play hard. There's no need. Just don't be cool about it. You know, give yourself up, sacrifice, come in, play hard, and like, man, let the chips fall where they may. Like, it's not the end all be all. It's not the end of the world. You know, we out here, you doing something that you love, like the whole pressure when the kids like, man, it's just so much, man, just go out there and play hard, man. Leave it on the court, man.
Say enjoy the moment, man. You know, so many limited opportunities get to do this. So, you know, enjoy the moment. Like you with the guys you know, you go and work hard with every day and sweat with. So just enjoy the moment and, you know, embrace it. Embrace the opportunity.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you know, don't be cool. And it's funny, like just being on and talking to different coaches, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff comes back down to the same stuff. Like everybody's looking for the same thing. They're looking for guys with tough motor, competitive, play hard, you know, all those things that, you know, these guys are not too cool for that stuff, you know. I mean, even in the layup lines, please, like we don't get many days, you know, Friday, like don't, you know, your little jelly, you know, we don't really, let's, you know, come there with a focus to, you know, you're trying to, in my opinion, do something that's life changing, you know, which is getting school paid for. You know, a lot of people in America don't get to say that that's the case. So, really, like I said, take advantage of the moment, and like I said, don't be too cool for the moment, and do what got you in this position. A lot of times, at least I would assume most of us are going to be going to pretty high level, like, live events, and we know who you are, and if you've been defending and you've been rebounding, you playing really hard,
Do that.
I'm not coming here to see you shoot 10 threes in a game. That's not what's going to impress me. I'm coming to see you do what you've been doing, at a high level, and see if you've gotten better at it, and even corrected some of your weaknesses. So, I think a lot of kids come and think they just going to score their way to a scholarship, and you don't realize, like, the score that Georgia Tech got, you ain't him. Like I got one of them. So if that's what you want to compete with, and like you want to be labeled as a scorer, then you're gonna have to compete with some of the best scorers in the country, and it's pretty hard to do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, too. If they drop 40 in front of you, what is your head coach going to say? All right, let's go watch them tomorrow.
8 a.m.
Good luck doing that again. Do what you do. And my advice would be do what you do and listen to your coach and nobody else. and I think it was Coach Jack's just playing hard. Just play to the final whistle, be that good, like be that teammate that if everything is falling apart, you're bringing people together. Because people are going to get frustrated. Players and parents put, I think, too much pressure on these young men and young women to, really play at their absolute best. And if they don't do absolutely that, everyone gets upset. And I mean, I just told a player the other day, I said, you had, like, she's a senior. I'm like, you have another whole year of basketball before you step on a college campus. There's plenty of time to prove yourself. So don't stress that too much. Really appreciate the time, guys. Thank you for coming on. Let the people know where they can find you on Twitter, Coach Jax. If you know the ad off the top of your head, I know these old people have to look it up.
Yeah, Twitter at Kojak COJAX_.
Appreciate it, Coach Williams.
At Pershin Williams, simple enough.
Bird got to look it up, yeah.
Yeah, I had to look mine up. At Coach Lewis _H.
Caught in 4K, man. All right. I really appreciate the time. Looking forward to see you out there this weekend.
All right. Good luck, guys.
Thanks for having me.